Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. Alright, for this video, I'm starting back up the novella ranking series, which a lot of people, a lot of my subscribers and people in Discord have been asking me about when I'm getting back to my novella ranking. And I feel kind of bad because I keep putting it off and off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get to that eventually. I'm totally pulling a George R. R. Martin right now, and I don't feel good about it. But nonetheless, I am bringing you guys episode 7, where I will be talking about the novellas that I ranked 13 through 11. So these novellas were just shy of making my top 10, which really is kind of painful because these 3 novellas are terrific. They're standout novellas, and I really wish I could have included them in my top 10, but I love Stephen King novellas, and the top 10, there's just not enough room. And so even though these aren't in my top 10, they're just shy of my top 10. I really enjoyed these novellas, and definitely go read them if you have not tried them before, because I highly recommend all 3 of these. Very good. And as of filming this video right now, I put up a poll on my community tab just to get an idea of what you guys want to see for the rest of the series. I originally had it planned as a 10-episode series, but my top 10 would have been split into 3 episodes. It would have been 10 through 7, 6 through 4, and then my top 3 for my final video. I'm wondering if maybe I should condense that. Maybe I can do 2 episodes, the ones that I ranked 10 through 6, and then my top 5. Or if you guys just want one long episode of me talking about my top 10 Stephen King novellas. I don't know when or how long I will leave that poll up. I'm assuming that by today or the next couple of days, I'll get a pretty good idea of what you guys want. But anyway, enough of the preamble. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for number 13, this might come as a bit of a surprise for some people, because I have said in the past that this is one of my all-time favorite Stephen King novellas, which it is. But I'm surprised that it's not in the top 10. When I was like figuring out my top 10, I was like, well, I guess maybe this doesn't fit in here, which really baffled me. It might baffle you, I don't know, but let's just hurry up and say what the book is, Jake. Number 13, Wendys Button Box, which he did publish this individually, but it is a novella, not a novel. You can read it in less than 2 hours. It's like 150 pages with pictures and very big font. It's a novella. And yeah, it's always been one of my favorites. I read this when it came out, but I didn't want to buy it new. So I literally just went into Barnes & Noble and I just read it there and like had lunch and just left after I finished it. Since then, I've gone and picked up like a used copy, which I kind of want to get a new one because I ripped off the tag thing and it like, yeah. But oh well, it's a used copy, who cares? But let's actually get into the novella. So for anyone who doesn't know, or for anyone who hasn't read this novella yet, it takes place in 1974, and it's about a little girl named Wendy who lives in Castle Rock, Maine. And at the beginning of the novella, she meets this mysterious man named Richard Ferris, who has the initials RF, and if anyone is familiar with Dark Tower and just overall Stephen King lore, you probably know who it actually is. But anyway, this man named Richard Ferris gives this girl Wendy a button box, and throughout the whole novella, she uses this button box in various ways to help her out in life. She uses it to help her lose weight, to get money, and just a bunch of other stuff. And the whole time she realizes that this button box is very dangerous. It has the ability to do terrible things, and she has to kind of reconcile that with the things that she's using it for herself. Wendys Button Box is also interesting because it starts out when she's 12, and then it takes place throughout years and years of her life, through her childhood and early adulthood. And you get like brief moments of when she's using this box, and you get brief moments of like just tragedy because of the box. And I think King did a very good job. And of course, with it being a novella, even though it takes place through years of her life, you get to know her character so well. And just King is just a masterful job at writing novellas, if I haven't gotten that point across yet. He's able to do so much with so little, which is why I get frustrated when he writes these huge novels that are just so meandering, when he can pack so much of a punch in this little 150-page story. And I really enjoy his novellas because of that. And yes, Gwendy is definitely one of my favorite characters in all of his novellas. I really enjoy her. And it does have sequels, but the sequel, Gwendy's Magic Feather, is only written by Richard Chizmar. I've heard mixed things. I don't really know if I want to actually read it, but then there's Gwendy's Final Task, which is like, it has the Dark Tower on it, so I might just have to power my way through that one and get to that. I don't know, but I really like this. I think this could have easily been just a standalone, but I'll probably eventually read the sequels. But either way, this is definitely one of my favorite King novellas. It's number 13, just shy of my top 10. Now let's see what number 12 and 11 are going to be. So number 12 and 11 are actually both located in the collection Just After Sunset. Very underrated short story collection by King. One of my favorites, probably besides Night Shift. Very good. It has, like I said, it has a few novellas in it. And I'm struggling right now to pick which one I like more. They're both not in my top 10, but they're both just outside of my top 10. And one of them has to be number 12, and one of them has to be number 11. Very arbitrary, but still. It's like, which one do I like more? I don't know. I guess right now, at this very moment, I will go with number 12 being The Gingerbread Girl. This story is about a woman named Emily who, at the very beginning of the book, we realize that she lost a daughter due to crib death. And literally the first line is, after the baby died, Emily took up running. So, very tough line to read right at the beginning of the story. But essentially what you get is this character, Emily, who, like I said, is dealing with the death of her daughter. And the way that she decides to cope with this death is to pick up running. And she gets pretty good at it, and she's just running for miles and miles a day, to the point where her husband is worried about her. He thinks that it's not healthy for her. And then she finally just decides to run away, literally. And she runs away, and she decides to stay at her father's house, I think condo or something, like on the beach. So she basically just runs away from her life, and that's her way of coping with everything. And you get a little bit further into the novella, and I don't want to spoil what happens, but something bad happens, obviously, because it's King. And she definitely has to utilize her newfound ability of running. And just the way that King does this is very masterful. It's very tense. It's very scary. And also it's very realistic, which I tend to think that when King writes realistic horror, it's definitely more terrifying than silly horror or supernatural horror, right? Like stuff like It and like Pet Sematary doesn't really bother me because that stuff's not actually happening. But the stuff that happens in this novella could happen, and it's very terrifying. So yes, it's definitely one of the creepiest novellas that Stephen King has ever written. Extremely fast-paced. This novella and the next novella I'm going to talk about, both in this collection, are just relentless. Like, that's the perfect word to describe these novellas. They're just balls out, like just relentless, terrifying, just like, God. So anyway, that's The Gingerbread Girl. I definitely recommend it for anyone who has not read it or just hasn't read this collection. And of course, for the Stephen King short story book club, shameless plug, we will be reading this eventually. Right now we're reading Skeleton Crew, and then what's after that? Oh God. Nightmares and Dreamscapes, everything's eventual. So it won't be till like much further down the road, but we will eventually be reading this. It'll probably end up being next year since we're reading it so slowly. But yeah, I once we do eventually get to this, I think a lot of people will really like Gingerbread Girl because it's pretty terrifying. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that for number 12. And then for number 11, probably the one that I really wanted to put in my top 10, but just I couldn't quite fit it in. That's what she said. Anyway, number 11 is, I'm gonna have to go with A Very Tight Place. Also what she said. Just like I said with the Gingerbread Girl and it being relentless, this is extremely relentless. Like, King does not pull any punches here. He just goes all in, and it's not only terrifying, but it's definitely one of the more disgusting premises that King has written. And if you're squeamish, you might want to avoid this one. I'll tell you why. So it's about this guy named Curtis who's dealing with his neighbor Tim, and they've been having kind of like property disputes. And Tim put up an electric fence, and Curtis's dog actually dies because of the fence, and he's completely heartbroken by it. And they, at the beginning of the novella, they meet up, but it turns out that Tim has a dastardly plan. He basically pulls out a gun and tells Curtis to get inside this porta potty, like a portable toilet, and he locks him in there, and he tips it over, and Curtis basically has no way of getting out, and he's in this portable toilet, and it's very disgusting, and yeah, he's in a very tight place. And of course, the way King describes everything is very visceral, very gritty, very disgusting, and yeah, and spoiler alert, the way that he eventually escapes the porta potty, because that would be a terrible way to just die, right? Like, what a terrible way to end the collection. Like, oh yeah, this guy gets locked in a porta potty and dies. But yeah, he does eventually escape. The way that he escapes is pretty clever, and it's disgusting. And yeah, at the end, it's a terrific ending, and I really wanted to put it in my top 10. I might regret it now, if I'm being honest, because it's really good. I kind of want to go back and reread it now. Oh man, did I just make a horrible mistake? Oh well, it's close enough. It's number 11. Yeah, it's so good. If you haven't read A Very Tight Place, highly recommend it. If you're squeamish though, I wouldn't recommend it because it's very bleh. But it's fun. It's a very fun story. Very gruesome, very relentless, and I love the ending. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that for number 11. If any of what I just said appeals to you, go out and read it. All right, that concludes this ranking for today's episode. And to summarize, I've got number 13, Wendys Button Box. Very good novella. I love the character. I love how King is able to pack such a punch in such a short story. And I love when King writes these stories that are so short, but they span like a person's life. I really like it. Really cool premise. Go check it out if you haven't already. And number 12, I'm going to have to go with The Gingerbread Girl. Very good, very scary, very realistic premise. And I love the character of Emily, and what she has to go through is just crazy, and how she gets out of it is just bonkers. Really fast-paced. I love that novella. And then probably one that I might regret not putting in my top 10 now, but we'll see. A Very Tight Place. Very gruesome, very just disgusting, and I love it. And just the ending, the ending is so good. Oh man. I might regret not putting it in my top 10 now, but oh well. For right now, it's number 11. And like I said, eventually sometime this week, I'm going to make a decision on like how the rest of the series is going to play out for my novella ranking. I'm either going to do 3 episodes like I originally planned. So the first episode would be 10 through 7, and then 6 to 4, and then 3 to 1. Or I could do 2 episodes, 10 to 6, 5 to 1, or one big long episode of me just talking about my top 10 Stephen King novellas. And like I said, I put up a poll on the community tab, and I am going to try to see where people lie on that, and I'm going to definitely take that into consideration when I film the rest of the series. And yeah, I'm very excited to finally wrap this up and get the monkey off my back, because I started this series long time ago, and I really just want to finish this because I really do want to get down to talking about my absolute favorite King novellas. It's going to be a blast, and I can't wait to hear what your opinion on my top 10 is. And of course, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you've read any of these novellas, what you thought of them, whether you loved them, hated them, whether they were a little meh, just a little meh. But anyway, and also let me know if you're interested in reading these. I would love to chat with you about it in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and the Bookish Drummer Discord. And if you'd like to further support me, go check out my Patreon page and see what that's all about. But anyway, thank you so much for being patient with me on this series. I'm finally going to finish it. I'm going to stop slacking. I'm going to finish it and appease y'all. Yes, again, I am sorry, but hopefully I will make it up to y'all in the future. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a terrific day.